Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Joe. Thank you all for coming. This is I think, my first press conference, so I'm going to try my best not to mess this up. But I will say this, in my opinion, when we talk about human trafficking and how we address human trafficking in our community, city, county, region, this is going to be, I believe, a very impressive show of what Sacramento is doing to address it here in our region. So thank you all for coming. We are going to showcase what we call now Sacramento Together, which is Sacramento Together to address human trafficking in our city, in our county, in our region, so that we not only prevent human trafficking, but we address it really on a holistic level in every aspect. Today, representing our coalition, as I call it, or our collaborative, is over 30 different partnership agencies who have all come together because we recognize that this is an important issue that we must address together as a community. I've said this many times, not only before becoming the DA, but now the fortune of being the DA is that police and prosecutors cannot solve the problems of the community alone. We need the community to help us to solve those problems, and these are community-related issues. But with that being said, there are over 30 different agencies that have agreed to join this coalition. There are local, state, federal law enforcement agencies, public defender's office, probation, local, state, public agencies, CPS, city, school districts, community-based organizations, and advocacy organizations. We've all come together because we recognize that this is an issue for us in Sacramento, and we are going to, honestly, we are going to address this on the best possible way that we can. Yesterday, when I sat down with our office staff and we looked at how are we going to present this today to the community, and we looked at what we are doing. I don't mean the DA's office, I mean all of the partnerships that have come here today. And when you look at what our model is, how we plan to address this, how we have been addressing it, and how we plan to continue this in the future, I believe very strongly that this is the model for our community. This is the gold standard, not just for our community, but this is a model that can and should be replicated in communities across this state and this nation. We have a coalition of law enforcement. We have prosecution. We are here to help victims. So we have specialized courts. We have victim outreach and victim services. We have public awareness and public education. If you look at everybody that's going to talk to you today about what their role is and what they are going to bring to this, there is no place that we have missed in addressing this issue here in our community. This collaborative or this coalition came out of a recognition that no child or no adult should live in fear of becoming a victim of either sexual or labor exploitation. And we've recognized that not only can we do more, but we should do more. And by joining forces together, we recognize that we can maximize our efforts. One of the things I want to kind of showcase today is what we've formed, what the coalition has formed, was what we call Sacramento Together against human trafficking. And we've created a website, so I think they have it here, that allows victims and anybody else that wants to go online and find out what are the resources out there. If somebody is in need, what can they do to find help and services? So we're very proud of that. We have that website, we've got a logo, and we also have a Facebook page so that it's ready at anybody's time that they need that. So the first thing I want to do is kind of start off is kind of break this up into blocks of what are we doing as a community. And the first part of that is law enforcement. What is the law enforcement community doing here in Sacramento to address human trafficking? And so with that, I'd like to invite up the FBI, Special Agent Monica Miller, the Sheriff, Scott Jones, and Deputy Chief from Sac PD, Mike Bray, to kind of talk about what they're doing from a law enforcement perspective. So, Monica, if you don't mind starting off.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Monica Miller. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI office, field office at the Sacramento area. We cover from Bakersfield all the way to Oregon. So what I want to say, what are we doing here in this community? Because I know that's what you're interested in. In general, I will tell you the FBI for over 10 years has had child exploitation task forces. We have had one here in Sacramento for the past 6 years. It's the Innocence Lost Task Force. And what that has done, once a year we have Operation Cross Country, where all over the nation, local, state, and federal agencies go out and they recover girls and they go after those that are exploiting them. And what this has done is we've tried to reach out to the media, try to make sure that this is exposed to the community, to get this kind of outreach, to get these kinds of conversations stimulated, talking, get outreach for the NGOs can help the victims. And finally, 10 years, 8 years, 6 years, now here we are. Thank you, Anne Marie. This shows some great leadership that we're coming together. Let me make something very, very clear, though. Over the course of the last 10 years or 6 years here in Sacramento, the FBI has not done this alone. We can't do it alone. We would never be successful. We have always been lockstep in partnership with Sac Police Department and the Sheriff's Office. So we will continue to forge those bonds and continue to combat this crime. So I'm really glad that over the course of the years we've finally have the outreach. We finally have the community outcrying about this. And I would say together as law enforcement, we get to do something good in our positions. With this kind of crime, though, it doesn't come without heartache, but it's the most rewarding work we do. And we're not going to stop here. So thank you. I'm very glad to be a part of this and get a chance to showcase what we've been doing in Sacramento for many, many years and what we're going to continue to do. So thank you.
Good morning, and thanks for coming. Thanks for having me here. I'm proud to be part of this Sacramento Together. I thank you, District Attorney Schubert, for coalescing this effort and to all of our partners. I've often described human trafficking much like domestic violence of 2 or 3 decades ago, where we didn't really know how to treat victims. Prosecutions were cumbersome and difficult. The laws hadn't quite caught up with the ability to prosecute offenders. Smaller communities didn't feel like they had a problem. Certain communities or demographics didn't feel like they or acknowledged that they had a problem. And as time goes on, all of those things for domestic violence have gotten corrected. And here we are in this new era of human trafficking. Many things are still the same. Many communities don't think that they have a problem. But I'm here to tell you that it is a problem in every community, in every state in this country. And it is a problem in Sacramento County. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department for years has been involved with their regional public safety partners, with the FBI, and in partnership with the district attorney to try and combat human trafficking. It has been through such overt measures as attacking our illegitimate massage parlors with county leadership and the help of them passing ordinances and allowing many of their county departmental resources. We can go out and attack illegitimate massage parlors. It could be through such overt measures as prostitution sweeps or John sweeps, where we can help identify victims of trafficking. That's only part of the equations, recognizing victims for what they are, not just offenders in these schemes, but perhaps victims themselves, and learning how to treat them better. We have partnered with many of our community-based and faith-based organizations that have a similar interest in going forward. We've been involved in more subtle measures to try and combat human trafficking, such as educating each and every one of our patrol officers with some of the signs to look for when they come in contact with someone where it might escape their attention that it might be part of a human trafficking problem, where now they have specific things to look for that might help them go from a normal, traditional enforcement action to a more route towards human trafficking, get the victim the assistance and connections that he or she may need, and also help secure the offender for successful prosecution. So I'm here today to again thank the district attorney and my other regional safety partners for coalescing this effort and to commit the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department into redoubling our efforts, both in our department and with our regional public safety partners, to continue to combat human trafficking in the Sacramento region, to get rid of it once and for all. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Sacramento Police Department Chief Deputy Michael Bray.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank District Attorney Schubert for her leadership and willingness to take on this issue. We're looking forward to some tremendous success by working as a collaborative and moving forward. I'd also like to thank, from the city, Sacramento Vice Mayor Alan Warren and Mayor Pro Tem Angelique Ashby for their leadership and willingness to partner up with Clear Channel to help broadcast public safety messages on the billboards. This is going to be a key piece of getting information out to the public. I agree with what the sheriff said. This is not just a city issue. It's not a county issue. It's not a state issue. It's a national issue. This problem is moving to every large city across the country. And we're seeing this with localized investigations. And just 2 days ago, some of our detectives assigned to the FBI's Innocence Lost Task Force were in the Bay Area recovering a young woman who had been taken from Sacramento months earlier. And she had been moved from city to city and state to state. And so collaboration and coordinating information is going to be key in reducing these crimes and recovering victims. We became involved in the FBI's Innocence Lost Task Force at its inception. We sent officers over to them in 2006, and it's been a very successful relationship. They've had some tremendous investigations and recovered many, many victims. Our detectives assigned to that task force also train all of our officers to recognize the signs of human trafficking. A lot of these investigations began by just minor vehicle stops or minor innocuous contacts with police officers or sheriff's deputies. And so training our officers on the recognition of the signs of these crimes, of the signs of the victims, is key to helping to recover and launch successful investigations. One of our detectives has been so successful at this, he's a national expert. Detective Derek Steigers is in the back of the room. He trains law enforcement agencies throughout the country and was recently acknowledged as the Investigator of the Year with the U.S. Attorney's Office due to his diligence with these complex investigations. Community participation is going to be key. We cannot arrest our way out of this problem. The success of this movement is going to be the absence of crime. And that is going to be achieved by, again, coordinating all of our resources, getting law enforcement, our service providers, community engagement, getting the message out to the public in order to successfully resolve these crimes and launch successful prosecutions. So again, the Sacramento Police Department is excited to be a part of this coalition, and we look forward to some positive results. Thank you.
So one of the things I wanted to mention, and the sheriff mentioned this, is, you know, we make all these fantastic arrests. What are we doing in terms of trying to prosecute the individuals who are in fact trafficking victims of sexual exploitation? I just want to mention a couple things about our office. We have in our office a specialized prosecutor who is solely assigned to human trafficking cases. And we've had many cases, and I can go over them, but one of the things, and I'll give a shout out to somebody who's not here, and he happens to be one of the part owners of the Kings, and his name is Chris Kelly. And Chris Kelly was the primary funder and backer of Proposition 35, which passed in 2012, which significantly enhanced the penalties and punishments for individuals who trafficked women and children or other individuals for sexual exploitation. And as a result of that passage, by overwhelmingly, I think it's the biggest passage ever, 85% of the voters in California passed it. Okay, we have very, very significant types of sentences now that we can address when people are in fact victimizing women and children and trafficking them. So we've had a number of cases in our community, and just a couple examples to show the types of hardcore sentences that we are seeking and we are getting in this county. Recently we had a mother and a son who were trafficking a 14-year-old local child here in this community. The son, who was the pimp, was sentenced to 20 years in state prison. The mother who assisted him was also sentenced to state prison for 3 years. We had another case of 3 defendants who trafficked 3 girls who were teenage girls, 15, 15, and 16. They were recruited from a local group home, which is not an uncommon thing that we see in our community, because they are targeting vulnerable children in our community. Those individuals were convicted. One of them was sentenced to 17 years, 4 months, another was sentenced to 6 years, and a third was sentenced to 2 years. Those are just 2 of the examples of the types of cases that we are prosecuting as a result of the good work of law enforcement in our community, demonstrating that if you make a decision in this community to sexually exploit a child or an adult we are going to aggressively prosecute you, and we're going to put you in prison for those crimes. And so next, so we talk about our law enforcement efforts. I want to talk about how are we helping victims of sexual exploitation. And really that comes down to two things. And I want to kind of start it off with what are we doing with our juvenile population, with the children of this community who are victimized, who are victims of what we call commercially sexually exploited children. We have what's called a CSEC court. And I want to acknowledge here Judge Bulwer-Uri. She's in the back. She probably doesn't want to raise her hand, but she is our presiding judge of juvenile court. And I can say this without hesitation, that it's her leadership in this CSEC court that has launched our county into the national spotlight of the best way to address juvenile sexually exploited children. And I'm very confident that it is the model for this country. And in fact, she's been invited by the Chief Justice of California to represent her on the best method to have a court in your community by going to the National Summit on Human Trafficking this year in New York. When I was thinking about how do we address it when we're dealing with the children of our community, I found something that I think is the best quote you can identify, and that is that children are the priority, change is a reality, and collaboration is the strategy. So when we talk about our CSEC court, there is little doubt that it is a collaboration that is very different than we would have thought of 20 years ago, where the DA's office collaborates with the public defender's office, because we recognize that the children that we're dealing with have special needs and they need specialized services. And from that collaboration, it expanded out to the probation department, to the UC Davis Children's Hospital, the care team. And through that collaboration, we are doing really transformational types of delivery of services to the children of this community who have become the victims of child sexual exploitation. And with that, I want to introduce Dr. Dawn Blacker to talk about what is UC Davis doing? What role do they have in all of this, and how do we deliver services to really to effectuate that change? So, Dr. Blacker.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Dr. Dawn Blacker, and I'm from the UC Davis Children's Hospital Care Center. And for those who don't know, the Care Center is a mental health agency that's been providing services for abused and neglected children for over 25 years. And what we've been doing with the specialized court is we have staff who come into probation and do mental health trauma screenings for all youth that are identified with a risk of sexual exploitation or there's a concern for that. And then the youth also participate, if appropriate, in a 3-week trauma-informed group that we developed. We also collaborate very significantly with the DA's office, probation, the juvenile court, and public defenders in participating in weekly multidisciplinary meetings before the specialized court, which occurs on Fridays. We also are at the court on Fridays and provide case management, consultation, crisis support, as well as linkage, case management, and linking them to appropriate services if they haven't already been linked to services. So it's a very exciting collaboration. It's funded through the Department of Justice. Part of that funding also is specific to providing training to probation staff as well as other professionals who work with these youth on trauma and specific issues related to sexual exploitation. So we're very excited to be part of this collaboration, and we look forward to further collaboration in helping meeting the needs of these abused and exploited children. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lee Seal. I'm the Chief Probation Officer for the Sacramento County Probation Department. First of all, I want to thank DA Schubert for pulling this important campaign together. It's a pleasure for us to be a part of it, to be standing up here alongside our law enforcement partners, our treatment providers. But I also want to take a second to point to the people behind you, because it's really this entire team of people I'm looking at right now who are doing the real work every day servicing this population, supervising this population, providing treatment, providing programs, really the boots on the ground. So it's an incredible team. It really speaks to your leadership and really the commitment that all of us have here to provide real strategies to address the problems that are in our community. Now, you heard from Dr. Blacker regarding some of the programs that we're very proud to partner with her team for the kids who come into our juvenile hall. As you all undoubtedly know, we have thousands of kids, really the entirety of the juvenile system that come into the criminal justice system in Sacramento County. They come through our juvenile hall. So we have a big mission in front of us to serve them and provide them not just the accountability and the secure confinement, but really the treatment and services that we can to help get them back on their feet and turn them into productive young people when they leave us. That's our goal, of course. We're proud of what your team has worked with us to develop and the support that we've received from the Public Defender's Office, the District Attorney's Office, and others. But we also know that there's more to do. And that's part of my commitment here today as part of this campaign to say that I am committed to developing further commitment programs to serve these young youth, mostly girls, who can really benefit from the kind of not just accountability, but treatment and services in our community outside of the secure detention environment of our youth detention facility. I believe we can do that. I believe that we can present a thoughtful plan moving forward that really gives these kids the services and treatment support that they need outside of that environment as well, so we can help get them back on their feet. So I look forward to working with the District Attorney's Office, all the members of this campaign to develop those options, and I'm confident that when we do so, we'll have a thoughtful plan to present going forward to serve this population. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Durenberger. I'm Assistant Chief Deputy District Attorney, and I oversee the human trafficking efforts for our office. I'm very glad to be here today, and you've heard a little bit about the CSEC court, the work that we've done. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the adult court changes that we are currently underway making. But I wanted to talk a little bit in the beginning about how does something like this get started. And I wanted to acknowledge members of the Public Defender's Office that a number of years ago came to our office, had enough respect for us to know that we would listen and that we would care, and to say, I think we can do better, I think we can make changes, and invited us to go down to Alameda County to listen to what their program was, and we looked at their program and said, I think we can even do better than that. And that's what has been our goal over the last number of years of trying to get this court together. I also want to acknowledge Natalia Luna, who for a long time was really the leader of our CSEC group out at Juvenile Hall and did a phenomenal job getting people to work together in a way that they had never done before. As far as what that court really did was made us look at, now that we know we can successfully do a better job with the youth, what else can we do to help victims that are still involved in the justice system but on the adult side that have been either CSEC victims or are still trapped in the life? And we looked at the program that was currently available and realized that that program was insufficient. It was a program that often charged up to $250 to the women that were being charged with crimes that involved sex work. And it really didn't give them any services whatsoever. It gave them a class, and they were able to get a program, but that was really it. And what we did was we reached out to some community groups in the area that we knew had a successful track record of working with victims of this type. And I want to make an acknowledgement to Terry at CASH. CASH is a wonderful organization in this community that works with victims who have either been CSEC victims or are involved in adult sex work, and they have a proven track record of success. I also want to acknowledge AC Another Choice, Another Chance, the other group that is going to be working together. And also Judge Rockwell. I want to acknowledge the court and Judge Rockwell, who is going to be basically leading the court to try to have us all work together to do something to give them real wraparound services, real hope that they can actually get out of the life, deal with all of the other outside trauma that they've been dealing with, and often involve other issues, personal issues. Sometimes there are drug issues that are involved. All of those services are going to be provided to the victims, along with peer group training, leadership, life skills, so they can actually have hope that there is a better future for them. I also want to acknowledge that the community groups that have kind of come together, we have been holding meetings for a couple of months now, and I have been to a number of meetings before involving our Rescue and Restore Coalition and the wonderful groups that are involved in that. But there's really been a rally of support to try to come together to do something better. I think everybody, we came up with the name Sacramento Together, and we like that name because it really is what we are trying to do. We know that there are other groups out in this community. In fact, I was just talking to Joe Debs this morning. He's now working for Senator Pan about some community groups he knows that are talking about human trafficking and what they can do. And we're going to get together later. But that's the idea of this campaign, is to bring everyone together and really focus on what can we as a community do to help victims in need. One of the things that we came up with out of our meetings, you can get them in your press packets, is the information cards. This is what I call the old school approach for people that aren't involved in computers and apps like myself, the gray hairs. What we have done is we've put them on a card, and we're going to give them to law enforcement. We're going to give them to community groups. We're going to give them to any local group that wants it, so that that these groups will know who there is in the area to contact, whether it's safety, whether it's health services, whether it's a crisis shelter, so that these numbers are all available and contact information available in an easy access form. This is one way we hope that we can kind of bridge the gap. We also have a more high-tech approach that has been worked on by one of our wonderful community groups. His name is Chris Stombach. He works with the Grace Network, and he has developed an app that can be used both by law enforcement and by community groups and just average people. And I would like to invite Chris to come up. I've heard him speak before at a number of meetings. He has a way of really communicating with the children that are involved in this and the young adults in a way that they can understand that I probably can't. So Chris, why don't you come up now?
Well, thanks for having me today. I'm just going to jump right in. So Sacramento County Sheriff recovers a 13-year-old sex trafficking victim from a seedy motel in South Sacramento. Where does she go next? Does the sheriff know what resources are available to her? Her family isn't safe, so where can she be placed? Child Protective Services receives a tip that a mom in Oak Park is soliciting her 8-year-old daughter for sex with adult men in exchange for illegal drugs and alcohol. Where does this 8-year-old receive trauma counseling, an opportunity to build healthy friendships, and where can she find a safe community to thrive in? There's a first-time street homeless teen not far from here in downtown Sacramento asking for spare change on a street corner. Within 72 hours, it's almost a guarantee that a physically or mentally coercive predator will approach and proposition this young person. So how do we serve this vulnerable youth? How do we connect him or her to life-saving resources in our community? A young man is smuggled from Central America to Sacramento, where he thinks he's going to work a normal job and send money home to his family, but instead his smugglers were labor traffickers, and now he's working 7 days a week, 12 hours per day, being paid less than minimum wage, squatting in a one-bedroom, one-bath apartment with 12 other men. He turns himself into the police and wants to go home, but how will he get there? Who should be called? A consulate? Homeland Security? Is he a criminal or is he a victim? All of these stories are true and real right here in Sacramento. We know that resources exist in our city to help the people in each of these situations, but how do we as first responders access or find and access these resources consistently? Well, I'm happy to tell you that there's actually an app for that. So the app is called Grace City. It's 100% free. I think there's some screenshots on the TV. 100% free, and everybody in this room likes free. And it's currently live on the Apple App Store. It's live on the Android market. And at times it seems NGOs are stuck using 10-year-old tactics to address modern social injustices. It's time we make a jump to the 21st century and implement strategies that enhance our ability to stand against criminals and protect those who are vulnerable in our city. Grace City is one tool that can be used to access food, clothing, housing, counseling, employment, education, law enforcement, and much more for trafficking survivors, urban youth, and their families. Since launching in September of 2014 last year, we've resourced over 1,000 first responders in Northern California. It's been accessed close to 5,000 times, and we've expanded to 6 different counties throughout the state with more coming. This isn't just a win for the Grace Network, but this is a win for the city of Sacramento. This is a win for those of us on the front lines, and most importantly, this is a win for those who are suffering unjustly at the hands of others in our community. Human trafficking requires a creative, powerful response because it's a multifaceted issue. When we choose to respond collectively, when we choose to unite effectively, when we choose solidarity over singularity, and when we learn and leverage what resources already exist in our community and not reinvent the wheel, we can accomplish great things together. So let's redeem technology from criminals who use it to hurt young people, and please download Grace City today. Resource yourself to identify and respond to human trafficking in our city. Thank you.
Chris, you're not done yet, though.
And there's a backpack here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that the app really does work. I had to have Chris explain how to download it onto my phone, but now that I have it on my phone, it does work.
He just needed to enter a password.
Yes. One of the things that we learned in one of the first meetings we had in our collaboration was that there were law enforcement that were out there contacting victims, and victims really had nothing. They didn't have clothes. They didn't have clean clothes. They didn't have food. They didn't have water. And that was communicated to us by one of the victims in the room, that one of the things a victim is going to need is clean underwear, because she may not have seen clean underwear for months. And we asked, was there anyone in the room that would be able to provide something like that, so law enforcement, when they meet them, can give that victim that just certain amount of dignity. And Chris stepped up and said that they had backpacks that they could give, and we have given them to law enforcement to give out to victims when they reach them on the street. So could you talk a little about that?
Yeah, this is actually called a Grace Pack. These are actually designed by Break Free, another organization in the room. So these are pajamas, a journal, a flashlight. There's a teddy bear in there. There's a card, just kind of honoring the young lady that it's going to. They come in small, medium, large, and extra large sizes. You can reach out to Break Free to get one of these. You can reach out to the Grace Network to get one of these. Our website is thegracenetwork.org. We have a ton of these things, and we have the ability to get more. So if you'd like to come and take a look at it afterwards, I was also informed that those other resource cards are in the back in packages that you guys can take with you today. Cool, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, I also want to introduce Councilwoman Angelique Ashby. She was gracious enough to come today when Vice Mayor Alan Warren unfortunately couldn't make it, and talk about a fantastic campaign that the city has put together with Clear Channel.
Thank you so much. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Angelique Ashby, the council member for District 1, and I'm here representing the city of Sacramento today. And the first thing I want to say is, standing in the room, I'm struck by one thing right off the bat. This is exactly why you elect a person like Anne Marie to be your district attorney. I was thinking back about a year ago about all of the things that people were talking about, and human sex trafficking, by the way, was a big discussion point during that election. And as I stand here today and I look around this room and I see some of my colleagues, like Supervisor Susan Peters, and I see people from the Public Defender's Office, multiple judges, CHP, sheriffs, Sheriff Jones, And in the back of the room is the fire chief for Sacramento and a deputy fire chief. There's Walt White and Nico King back there. There are some folks from neighborhood services from Sacramento. I can only really think, also there are representatives from Assemblymember McCarty's office and Senator Pan's office. I can only really think of one person who would be able to pull them all together on this topic and say, let's do this, Sacramento. Let's go after this issue in a big way. Human sex trafficking is the type of crime that makes you just feel completely overwhelmed. It's so extraordinarily horrific that it's overwhelming, and yet it's real. And I do want to say one thing about Sacramento that makes me incredibly proud on this issue. Other communities, other cities, other states, other countries even, take issues like this, they pick up their carpet, and they sweep it right underneath and drop it on top, and they never talk about it again. We all know it exists everywhere. It's not just in the United States either, by the way. This is an international, global issue right now happening in our world. And one of the reasons Chris Kelly got so involved in it is because Chris Kelly is a founder of Facebook. And he saw the other side of this and how social media and the internet was negatively impacting young people and how they were falling victims to things. And he wanted to make a difference on that, and he did, a big difference. But now it's up to these folks in this room for us to admit, to be able to say to ourselves, Sacramento has an issue. Not going to worry about what other places have, but Sacramento has an issue. And an issue equates to an opportunity to be in a leadership role on a very important issue right now at this moment in time. And the city of Sacramento's commitment to this is to bring to bear everything we've got. We have a phenomenal police department, particularly on this issue. The detective who was mentioned earlier is incredible. Sometime he should write a book about everything he said. It would be an incredible book to read. But we also have a terrific fire department. We also have a wonderful library system. And every one of those entities, the school districts, the nonprofits like City of Refuge in Oak Park, or CASH, or Courage Worldwide, they all play a role in this. And what Sacramento does best is come together. We're very good at collaborating like no other, and we can do it, and this is an opportunity for us to showcase that effort. We as a city have entered into a public-private relationship with Clear Channel. I think Clear Channel's here somewhere, right? You want to come up and stand next to me? We have entered into an agreement with Clear Channel to do some billboards, and we're not going to stop there. This isn't just about billboards, but a lot of this is about prevention and awareness and reaching out and being available. Whatever resource we have, anything we've got, we're going to bring to bear on this issue. We stand firmly shoulder to shoulder with the sheriff and the DA, ready to serve and ready to make a big difference in our region. Would you like to talk a little bit about our billboard program?
Absolutely.
Great.
Clear Channel is honored to be a part of this program. We have donated 8 billboard faces around the Sacramento area to run the human trafficking billboards. You'll see there's a number on the billboard that shows where victims can call to get help. So we've worked with this with our other markets. We have seen, including the Bay Area and San Diego, and we have seen success from where victims have reached out, called the number, and got help, and are now in a safe place. So we're very happy with our partnership, and we are very dedicated to this cause.
Yeah, it's fantastic, but it represents the best of what Sacramento has to offer: interagency collaboration and public-private partnerships, support from our judicial system and our nonprofits, and we're just eternally grateful to be among the leaders in our region addressing this issue.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Oh, sorry. We have at I-5 and Richards, we are going to freeze the billboards. So if anyone wants to take any pictures, it'll run the different messages, but it'll be on the board so you can see it today. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful effort I'm very happy the city has been able to work with Clear Channel, who's a great partner. Right now I want to introduce you to a couple of partners that I've been working with over the last couple of years, and these are some people that have been local people in our area that have really pushed and pushed and pushed for this community. Behind the scenes, doing work to try to bring this to the forefront as an issue and a concern, and to try to make our city and our county better. At this time, I'd like to introduce Deborah DeBont and Claire Lipschultz. Deborah DeBont she's head of Opening Doors, which is now head of the Rescue and Restore Coalition. I'll have her talk a little bit about that. And Claire has worked through the coalition and the National Council of Jewish Women, and they've done some wonderful projects. I'll let you talk over. Sure.
Good morning. As has been said before, for most of the past decade, Sacramento area agencies have worked together to fight human trafficking because we realize that this is a problem that can only be tackled with a broad cross-section of organizations, including law enforcement, service providers, and others from the community. And one example of this cooperation is the Rescue and Restore Coalition. The Rescue and Restore Coalition has educated thousands of Sacramento area neighbors and folks throughout Northern California to understand the signs of human trafficking and to know what to do when they see it. It has also spearheaded a successful effort to address trafficking in massage parlors with a Sacramento County ordinance that prevents illicit massage businesses from reopening after they've been closed down, reopening immediately. It has hosted annual human trafficking conferences and carried out a poster campaign that Claire will talk a little bit about in a minute. The coalition supports trafficking survivors who are working to heal and help others. We provide a forum for lawyers who are willing to offer pro bono help, and we connect them with survivors who need assistance. We offer opportunities for service providers to share experiences and best practices and networking events for those doing all sorts of anti-trafficking work. Future efforts include an educational video and other projects as they are identified by the Rescue and Restore Coalition members. My agency, Opening Doors, is proud to be part of Rescue and Restore. Anyone interested in learning more about the coalition or becoming involved in it can visit the coalition website, which is sacramentorescueandrestore.net, or they can contact us at Opening Doors. Opening Doors also provides case management to survivors so they can restart safe lives. We are very excited about Sacramento Together against human trafficking and very eager to be involved. We look forward to participating, and we celebrate all that it will bring to our community's efforts to end trafficking and free victims.
Good morning. I'm Claire Lipschultz, and I'm with the National Council of Jewish Women, Sacramento, and a proud member of the Sacramento Rescue and Restore Coalition. We've heard today much about the importance of community awareness about trafficking to not only identify survivors, but also to help identify the traffickers that law enforcement will be able to prosecute. To that end, I'd like to talk about two community awareness programs out of many that are being done in Sacramento. The first began in 2012 when the National Council of Jewish Women wrote and helped to pass a law which required certain businesses to post notices with the human trafficking hotline number on it, along with other information about human trafficking. These notices were required to be posted at certain businesses throughout the state of California. The hotline has proven to be an absolute lifeline over the years to survivors who have called in and have been rescued from their traffickers, and also as an important means for community members to call in and report suspicious situations. On the board here, you see a copy of the locally designed poster that was created here in Sacramento that has the information about trafficking and the hotline number in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. Laws are great. Implementation, though, is the key. And Sacramento has been involved in a robust implementation effort to make sure that these posters are up in businesses across the region. To help these businesses learn about their responsibility to post and to learn more about trafficking, the Rescue and Restore Coalition, the DA and Sheriff's Office launched a project called SAC Post. That's an acronym for Sacramento poster outreach to stop trafficking. During phase 1 of SAC Post, volunteers that were trained visited almost 100 businesses in Sacramento with copies of the poster so that they could distribute them to the businesses required to post. Importantly, not only were those notices posted at that time, but there were conversations that the volunteers had with the proprietors of the businesses, their managers, the staff, and in many cases, the patrons. One of the places were bars that were visited, and you can't imagine the conversations that ensued with the bar members on a Sunday afternoon. It was great community awareness. Because it was such a success, there is going to be a phase 2 of SAC Post 2, this fall. Planning is underway with a Sacramento Rescue and Restore Coalition Committee of the International Rescue Committee, Blue Heart, NCJW, the DA's office, Opening Doors, my sister's house, to plan for an initiative that will now go to businesses that are not required by law to post, but they will be approached asking for voluntary posting, to include them voluntarily in this broad community effort to protect the vulnerable population and inform the community. So we're very excited about that compliance, voluntary compliance. Very quickly, I want to tell you about a totally different type of community outreach than what I've described. On October 4th, NCJW is doing an encore production of a documentary play titled Seven. The premiere that we did in February, the one-time event, was such a huge success, we're bringing it back by popular demand. We chose theater as another way to increase community engagement to fight human trafficking. Storytelling is such a powerful medium. It is so effective in imparting information and inspiring action because information comes in through the heart in stories, not just through the mind. Seven tells the stories of 7 remarkable women from around the world who, facing amazing obstacles, were able to bring hope and change to women and girls who were being trafficked and experienced other violence in their respective countries. So while the stories are global, the issues are local to Sacramento as well, and so we're bringing those stories home. And after the show, what we hope will be 700 members of the audience who are now newly inspired will visit tables of many of the Sacramento organizations involved in fighting trafficking. They will become more aware and they will become more engaged. We look very much forward to working with Sacramento Together on this and future community awareness projects. Thank you. Here is a poster, by the way, of Seven, and there will be cards in the back with that information.
I know this may be shocking, but I don't know if there's anything else I can say. Other than to leave it as this, to kind of start out with what we said, which is human trafficking is a priority, collaboration is a strategy, and change is a reality. And so by looking at this room and the inspiration from everyone that was here speaking today and who's in attendance, I'm very confident that that change will become a reality. So thank you all for coming. If anybody has questions, you can ask them. Don't ask hard ones, please. But we just really appreciate it. So thank you all for coming.